Welcome to The Less Stressed Life, all about making this your time to feel freaking awesome about your life, health, and happiness. This podcast of The Less Stressed Life is hosted by Krista Bigler. Krista is an integrative registered dietitian nutritionist who specializes in reducing food-related stress, inflammation, and symptoms of food sensitivities. She brings over a decade of nutrition expertise and playing with her food to the table. From coaching, teaching, writing, and working within a major food company to behind the scenes for a health celebrity. To learn more, visit lessstressedlife.com.
All right, today we have a special treat because Pat Flynn is with us. And some of us might be really excited about this. Yes, we know who Pat Flynn is. And then some might say, who is Pat Flynn? So just because of the way the audience is. So let me tell you a little bit about Pat. Pat is a father, husband, and entrepreneur who lives and works in San Diego, California. He owns several successful online businesses and is a professional blogger, keynote speaker, Wall Street Journal bestselling author, and host of the top-rated podcast, the Smart Passive Income Podcast, which has earned over 30 million downloads, multiple awards, and features in publications such as the New York Times and Forbes. He is also an advisor for Lead Pages and other companies in the digital marketing arena. So that's exciting stuff. Welcome, Pat.
Thank you for having me, Krista. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So let's get a little bit of backstory because, of course, this is how people decide that they love you, right? And so I didn't actually know this about you either until I saw you speak in March in California at a conference. And you were telling us about your job. You were an architect that lost his job and discovered you could make a business online by helping others with something you'd already done, right? Which was, I believe, a study guide for maybe those taking the certification exam. Am I kind of on point? Give us a little point.
You are on point. I mean, the interesting thing about my journey is I really just didn't know I was going to be doing this because I wanted to be an architect, a very successful architect, and I was doing everything I was supposed to do that. And then in 2008 with the recession, I got laid off, and it was just one of the hardest moments of my life. I went through a mild state of depression, and just by chance, I listened to this podcast one day, and I was introduced to this idea of online business. And actually the podcast episode I had listened to was about a guy who was helping people pass the project management exam. And I remembered I took a number of exams, many very difficult, on my journey to become an architect. So I decided to hone in on one of them, become the guy who was going to teach people how to pass this exam. And in less than a year, I was able to build a six-figure business. Over $200,000 were made selling a $19.99 ebook online. And it was just an incredible life-changing thing for me because not only was I making more money doing that than I was in the architecture world, but the best part about it was that people who had taken the exam and had passed as a result of my help were sending me thank you notes and messages and calling me by name, and just like I was helping them get job promotions and raises. And the crazy part about that is, like, you know, I have my fingerprint on several different buildings in this entire world, but nobody will ever know. Nobody will ever know that as like the drafter and a job captain related to those projects. But in this little tiny space, helping people pass a little tiny exam, I was like their hero. And that just to me was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. So then from there, I started smartpassiveincome.com because not only was I generating all this money, but I was able to do it in a way where it didn't require my time exactly. I invested a lot of time and effort up front, but now even 9 to 10 years later, that website, Green Exam Academy, is still up. Anybody at any time who's interested in passing that exam can go to that site, get the ebook, and as a result, my PayPal account grows. And it happens all automatically, and that's where the whole passive income thing comes from. And now I teach and I share everything that I had done to start not just that business, but multiple businesses. I share all that stuff publicly, including how much money you make and where it all comes from. And you know, it's not always an up month. Sometimes it goes down, and I talk about why. And I just have become this person who's become known as just the authentic, transparent guy who teaches people how to do online business without being scummy or making people feel like they need to take a bath afterwards. And so, you know, I'm just very blessed to be in this position. And, you know, I feel like I owe the world as much as me as possible because it's given me so much since my layoff.
And I can attest to the fact that you are very authentic with all of your followers, but we'd be remiss to mention, you know, you gave really like a quick 30,000 foot view of that. So if that's the first time someone's really heard about passive income or, you know, utilizing your knowledge for the greater good, can you speak to a moment there? You know, was there a time at the beginning where you felt like am I even qualified to do this? Like, can I do this? I feel
that was a daily ritual for me, was to question the new path I was going down. I mean, I was getting, from external forces, my parents and other friends, why don't you just get a regular job? Or my dad was like, go back to school. This is a perfect time to get your master's degree. And, the sad part about that was he was right. But I would always go back to, well, why am I attracted to this anyway? And the reason was that because I had done everything right up to the moment I was let go. I had gotten great grades in school. I graduated at the top of my class from Berkeley. I got into an amazing architecture firm. I was doing more than I was asked of. But even then, I still got kicked out. And I made a decision after I got over that state of depression and decided to go down this route that I wanted my own failures to be my own fault. I wanted control. I wanted, my own destiny to be determined by the work that I do or don't do. And it was, so every day though, I would be challenged. How do I even build this website? I guess this is a sign I shouldn't even do this. Or, okay, I now understand that I need to write this book. How do I write this book? Oh gosh, this is a sign that probably it's not something I should do. Even after my first sale, I remember my very first sale. It was 8:40 a.m. in the morning, and it was just the most incredible feeling. But even immediately after I saw that PayPal notification come in for my first ebook sale, it was for like $18.13 because it was minus the PayPal fees. I started to doubt myself again, even after I made that first sale. What if this guy asks for a refund? What if he sues me because this information is bad? Like, who am I to even become the expert on this? I didn't even get a perfect score on the exam. But it was because I was the one who was trying to help as many people as possible. I was getting very active on forums, just answering as many questions as I could for people. People started to buy from me and started to trust me. And even though I wasn't perfect at the knowledge related to this exam, I was the one who was going to go out there and find all the information people needed. And so, yeah, I mean, every day I questioned myself. Even with my business now, I've been doing this for nearly 10 years. When I try new things and I launch new courses, I always question myself, like, should I be the one doing this? Am I the right person? And what helps me moving forward now is two things. One, when I experience that sort of fear and that resistance and that kind of weird feeling in my tummy, I have two kids, so I say tummy instead of stomach. I know that that's a sign, right? That there's something amazing on the other end. That fear and that anxiety is a sign that I should move forward. That's just something amazing is on the other end of that. But two, I look back at all the people I've been able to help, and I look at all the thank you notes, and I look at all the emails that I've gotten, and I realize that if I don't push forward, that there might be thank you notes that'll never happen, meaning people who are not being served. And that is always what drives me. Serve first. And when you serve first, the results will come back your way.
That was like a whole gold nugget there. And I think it's important to talk about that whole imposter syndrome and those feelings of self-doubt, because that's where most people get sabotaged at the very beginning and just don't progress. If we could somehow overcome that, then we all have this potential for aptitude for greatness. So let's talk. So you just mentioned thank you cards, and the reason I invited you here today was to talk about an elusive topic to me, which was meditation, more or less, but a little bit more than that. So when I saw you speak in March, we were in California, and you were giving a presentation, and you had pictures of your office, and you kind of showed how you had a standing desk, you had a giant bulletin board full of thank you cards, and then you had this awesome couch where you said you do meditation. And I thought that was really bold that you carved out this space in your office. You really were very intentional about that. So tell me when that office remodel happened, how you decided, yes, that this is worthy of the space, and what kind of was that point. And maybe you have to go back a few steps. Like, how did you get into meditation to where you thought, oh, I'm going to put in a couch? So tell us about that process.
Sure. I mean, it's really funny because I just mentioned that in passing. I just pointed out the couch for just like a second. And it was so cool that you kind of remembered that. When we moved into this new house that we're in now, it was kind of a clean blank canvas, and I could create my office in any which way I wanted to. But even before that, I had gotten recently involved with meditation. Now, the interesting thing about meditation for me is that for years I had heard about meditation, especially from entrepreneurs and other people who were doing it and saying how great it was. But I always on the surface was like, I don't know if that's for me. Like, I don't want to sit cross-legged and put my fingers together like this and hum the whole time. Like that's a little bit too woo-woo for me. And I was just like, very, I didn't know. And that's is very kind of judgmental of me to think of it that way. But when I finally got involved, it really was something that changed my life. And the reason I got involved was because two of my heroes were talking about it on a podcast. Tim Ferriss was one of them. And he mentioned that meditation was an incredibly important part of his life, so much that he puts it into his morning ritual. And then Hal Elrod was another one from the Miracle Morning who talked about it as well. And so I decided to give it a try, to really give it a shot and put my biases aside and try it. And the first thing I did was I used an app called Headspace, which is an app that has guided meditation with just this guy with this amazing voice who helps you kind of clear the traffic in your head. And the problem for me with that was like I felt great and relaxed after these sessions, but I didn't know if it was working for me or not. I just had no data, or I'm a very data-driven kind of person, and this was to me the opposite of data. It's like meditation. But then my friend, who understood that I was trying to kind of work through meditation and discover really the power behind it, he gave me his Muse, M-U-S-E, and it's a tool. It's an actual electronic device that you put on your head like a headband, and it has 4 brain sensors on it, and it connects to an app. And the app and the brain sensor will tell you in short sessions that are anywhere between 5 to 12 minutes, and you can even do one that's 20. But I always just meditate every day for 7 minutes. Actually, is the exact time. And what it does is you have your headphones on. This is going to sound really crazy, but you have the sensor on your head, you have the app open, and then you have your headphones connected, and you meditate for a session. And when your brain is racing and you have all those thoughts in your head and it's just like mixed and jumbled, you start to hear crashing waves and loud wind and loud sounds. But the moment you start to calm down, and the way that you do that, the way that I do that is I focus and count my breathing. And when I just focus on that alone, you start to hear calm winds, the water just more trickly, and it just sounds amazing and peaceful. And it shows you a graph after you're done with where you were kind of racing versus where you were calm, and it starts to spit out all this data for you. And if you are calm for a certain amount of time, you get these like rewards, and you can even hear those rewards because you start to hear birds chirping. That's like your sign that you're doing a great job. And it just became this thing that became a part of my daily ritual that it is so important to me now because I've seen directly the results of what meditation has done for me. And what are those results? Those results are, 1, better focus when I am working. So I'm deeper into my work, I've noticed. Number 2, I'm more creative. I'm thinking about things on a different level, it seems. But here's the most important one, number 3, and that is I still get distracted. I think that's the one thing that people struggle with is they're like, I'm going to try to get to a point where I'm never distracted with my work or I never lose focus. And that's like almost impossible. But here's the thing that meditation has done. I'm now able to get back into that flow state, into that focus much, much faster. And I don't think we all realize like how much we spend in transition time every day, meaning you want to get into deep work and stay focused, but then you get distracted and then you kind of have to come back into it. Well, it might take 20 to 30 minutes sometimes to get back into that flow state. And if you get distracted again, it's just like it's going to set you back even more. Now, in just 2 to 3 minutes, I feel I can get back into that flow state and back to where I was. And with 2 kids in the house, I get distracted all the time. So that's become very, very meaningful to me that I can do that. And it's helped with my bottom line and my results, obviously. So the space that was created in my office was very purposeful because I knew that meditation was going to be an important part of my life, and it still has been. I've been meditating for nearly 2 years straight every day now. And I sometimes use the Muse now. I've kind of graduated from it, but I definitely needed that to start. And now to have this space where I know I can go into, and it just kind of puts me in a place where I know that that's what my role is there. And when I was building this office space, I knew that I wanted to have, and it's not very big either. I think it's like 13 by 13 in terms of square footage, but it has very specific places for very specific jobs. There's a space in the corner where I go to specifically just plan, and that is away from my computers, away from my devices. I go there just to sit, and I don't want to get distracted with all the notifications. So that's why I have a planning space. And then I have a space in the middle where I go where I learn. I have a little TV in here that I connect via Apple TV. And when I'm taking online courses, I sit on this desk and I watch. And then when I'm working on the computer, that's obviously in my computer, and then podcasts, I have a specific area for that. But then my meditation area, that is there for meditation, for relaxation. Sometimes I visit that space when I'm in the middle of my work, when I'm just not in the flow and I need to get back into it much sooner and I'm just not able to do it. I go and I sit in that. Sometimes just sitting in that chair now and just breathing for a minute de-stresses me, and I can get right back into it. And it's also purposefully right next to all those thank you notes that you mentioned earlier, because I think they're all connected. I mean, the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is to better serve my audience, and I need to be connected with my internal thoughts and focus in order to do that. So it's all kind of right there, and it was just nice to have that clean blank canvas where I can be like, okay, this is where I'm going to do it. What would make my space best or my meditation? And it just becomes a peaceful place. And I think we all need something like that. I'm not saying you need to carve out in a room in your home a place for meditation, but I think it's always nice to know you have a space that you go to just de-stress your mind. And it's just become just such an important part of the office now in my life, really.
I have a lot of questions based on everything you just said there. So for one, you talked about the benefits, better focus, more creativity, and being able to get back into that flow state more easily, even though you have distractions. So my question is, because you saw these benefits from meditation, how long did it take you to notice these benefits? And you mentioned that you've been meditating for 2 years. However, was there a time before that where it was more intermittent? Did you notice? My question is, if you fall off of the meditation train, how long do you think before those benefits became unraveled? How long did the benefits last?
Well, here's the thing. At the start, I gave myself some time. I wanted to have realistic expectations. So I figured, okay, when I start, I'm not going to expect immediate results today, but I do hope to experience something as a result of the time that I'm spending doing this. And it was only about a week until I started to really notice, and it was just because I was being conscious about it, I think, that I started to see that I was having deeper focus. I was able to get out of those distracted moments into my flow state much quicker. So it was about a week. Had I ever gotten derailed?
Yes.
No, because this has become like breathing to me. I have to do this. And it's very simple when you make it a priority in your life, anything really, when you make it a priority in your life, you're going to make it work. And so the nice thing now is the two nice things about meditation. One, it's free. Two, I mean, the device isn't free, but once you get to know how to do it, it's free. But number two, you could do it anywhere. So if I'm on a plane and I'm just, have some time to kill, I'll just close my eyes for 5 minutes and start to hone in on my breathing and get into that state. And that is like a nap that I take during the day where I can just get recharged. Or if I am not driving, obviously, but if I'm somewhere where I just have a moment to myself, I do that. And it's just, I haven't missed a day because it's like eating. It's necessary for me to do that to become my best self.
Right. So since you talked about Hal Elrod and we're familiar, listeners of this podcast are a little bit familiar with some of his tenets about his miracle morning. I know this is part of your morning ritual. It sounds like you use it as part of your morning ritual, but you also use it other times throughout the day. And what else is in the morning ritual? Or does the morning ritual ever get pushed to a different time of the day as well?
Yeah, I mean, I don't follow his SAVERS, which is just the acronyms for all the things that he says you can do for personal development. I don't do all of them at the same time. I try to do all of them every single day, but they're kind of sprinkled throughout my day. And that's one of his teachings, is just like, hey, make it work for you with your life. So in the morning, I'm meditating, I'm journaling, and I'm also exercising. But then also the visualizations are there too, and the all those kinds of things. In the middle of the day, a lot of times that's when my reading happens during lunch and whatnot. So yeah, most of it happens in the morning for sure. But yeah, the reading is important because you're learning from other people who have had these experiences in your life. But I think the other one that I want to highlight really quick is the journaling. I do that in the morning, like I said, but I also practice a little bit at night before I go to bed too. I use a tool called, it's not a tool, it's a book, a journal called the 5-Minute Journal, which is really quick and easy to use, but it's so powerful. In the morning, I write down the 3 things that I'm most thankful for in my life at that time, and it changes every single day. But just to start the day with gratification is huge. And then I talk about the 3 things I want to accomplish. And then at the end of the night on my nightstand, which is where I put it after I'm done, so that I'll make sure to do it. I write down 3 amazing things that happened during the day and 1 thing I could have done better to improve. And just that practice alone, in less than 5 minutes, it's just made a massive impact. So all these things don't take very much time, but I've made them a priority, and that's why they're working.
Would you say that you added these different pieces one by one? Were you doing the journaling religiously before you started meditating? What came first, the meditation or the egg?
They've definitely happened kind of piece by piece. I think it's tough when you see something like Hal Elrod's strategy that incorporates all these new things in your life, or things that may be new, all at the same time. It's going to be too much of a change. I always recommend to people, if you're going to make a change, start by just a little bit of change, and this is what I always recommend to people who are teaching. If you want to change somebody's life, start by changing their day first. And so the same thing with your own life. If you want to change your life, start by changing your day. And if you want to change your day, start by changing one habit first, and then things will start to snowball from there.
Love it. So why did you land on 7 minutes? Is that your lucky number too?
That is a lucky number of mine, but it's also just I've found to be optimal time for me to get enough meditation time in without taking too much time away, because I'm a busy guy. I got things to do, and I got 2 kids to take care of and a wife to keep happy. So it takes time, and 7 minutes just seems to be optimal. There's also the 3 and 5 minute options within this app too, but just 7 over time I've figured and just noticed it's the best time for me.
Yeah, everyone will run out and buy Muse now, which I'd heard of actually all these applications, but kind of start, stop. I like the idea of the data. I'm kind of a data-driven person as well. I like to be able to see that difference. And I think the big question possibly that some people might have, there's a lot of parents here, and I know you have 2 kids. Your daughter's 5 and your son is a little bit older, right? How old is he?
Mm-hmm. He's 7.
So they're capable of understanding daddy's got this going on. But, for people with younger kids, what's your advice to them because it's just distraction central sometimes when your kids are around, and it's, it gets easier as they're older. But, what advice do you have for those people?
Yeah, for me, it's all about communication with the family, especially with my wife. If I'm in the office and something is really important, I'm telling my wife that that's happening so that she can make sure the kids are, distracted and having fun elsewhere. But at the same time, I also get my kids involved. I'm inviting them in the office all the time when it's not something where I need to be by myself. And they're pushing the buttons and they're turning things, which I know a lot of parents are like, don't touch those things. But I want my kids to touch, and I want my kids to be involved in this. We're actually behind the microphone recording just fun little podcasts together just for our own purposes. And what I love about that is it's making it so that work seems like something that it's bringing us together, versus with what it was for me when I was growing up. My parents was just like, hey, work is something that takes my parents away from me. But now that I'm able to work from home and do these things together, I'm like inviting them in and making them see like this is something that actually can bring us closer together, and that, entrepreneurship and serving other people is a great thing that just makes everybody happy. So, and if you have especially very, very young kids, I know it's going to be really tough. It was tough for my wife and I to just do anything, it seemed, other than parent. I worked really hard to optimize my sleep, and I know we could probably do a whole nother episode about that. But I optimized my sleep so that I could potentially sleep less hours, but get better quality sleep. So I sleep about 6 hours a day, which opens up obviously a lot of time. And I would do my work initially after the kids are down. That's I wouldn't try to fight it in the beginning. I wouldn't mix work time with parenting time. I would always only get work done after they were asleep, while they were napping, or in the front of the day, in the mornings before they woke up. And that was really driving for me, because I had a deadline. When the kids woke up, that's when my work was done. So that forced me to become very efficient and optimal with my time. Yeah,
you had to be more productive. You wish you had meditation in your life at that time, more so.
Oh, I wish I started. I mean, the coolest thing about the school my kids are going to is they teach things like what we're talking about. They teach meditation. They do meditation time. They do journaling to start the day at school. It's just really cool. It's a STEM school that's kind of experimental, very entrepreneurial based in how they teach. And it's just something that's really, really cool. And I encourage, even if your schools don't do this, to teach it to your kids, because it's just amazing to have these skills that are going to help you later in life. And I only wish I started when I was younger.
Yeah, I love that. I did see an article once about how schools were doing meditation instead of, I think, detention. I'm not sure if it was the exact replacement, but it was pretty cool. So
awesome.
Last question about, this is kind of everyone gets this question about, what's your gut reaction? What are your final thoughts you would tell someone listening right now that's sort of opening their mind to this mindfulness idea, to meditation, but has that whole stereotype of the ums and the ahs? You told us how you started meditation, baby steps, but do you have any other take-home points for people?
Yeah, I mean, Just try it. Honestly, just try it. You know, don't knock it till you try it, kind of thing. I thought the same exact thing, and when I finally started to practice it, I started to see those immediate results. And you know, if you are in a place in life where you can't find 5 minutes to do this, something needs to change, right? Like if you can't find 5 minutes to work on your personal development and having a clearer mind, well, then that's insane. I mean, we should be able to have 5 minutes. And I think what's interesting is it kind of has a snowball effect where when you practice this, you'll start to open up more time because you'll be more clear with what's important and what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. And just give it a shot. And really, it's something you can do on your own. I know some people are kind of gun shy about it because it's like they don't want to be noticed. And it's not about the oohs and ums. It's just about it. And it's not about having total clear thoughts. That was another myth. I was like, I thought you were supposed to empty your brain completely. No, you're always going to be focusing on something. But focusing on one thing for a longer period of time is really that muscle building that you're doing versus, you know, all the thoughts that we have in our head at the same time mixing and not doing us any good.
Perfect. Love that analogy of comparing it to a muscle. It's something you have to work on in order for it to grow. And then it's also something that if you don't work on, will kind of dissipate or atrophy. So where can people find and connect with you online?
You can find me at smartpassiveincome.com or at Pat Flynn on most social media channels.
Excellent. Thanks so much today for your time, Pat. Hopefully we'll get a picture of the meditation couch for the show notes.
For sure.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, guys. If you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I think the subscribe button is a lot like a boomerang. You throw it out there and good stuff comes back to you. By the way, if you look down in the show notes, we've linked out to the blog that has a picture of Pat's meditation chair, not a couch. So there is a couch in the office. I don't know why he didn't correct me, but it's actually a chair and it kind of has the whole setup. And I also go over some other neurofeedback devices besides the Muse and which one I added to my practice to loan out to clients. So you can find out a little bit more about that by clicking in the show notes, and I tell you all about those options. All right, we'll see you back here soon.